I started the graveyard shift thinking it would be easy money and quiet nights. The gas station off the highway was one of those places where the fluorescent lights buzzed like distant static, and the hum of the refrigerators was a lullaby for exhaustion. People came in for energy drinks, cheap cigarettes, and the kind of silence only broken by the click of the register. He was there the first night I noticed him, standing outside, just beyond the automatic door's sensor light, between 2:43 and 3 a.m., like clockwork. Tall, coat buttoned all the way up, head slightly bowed, hands in pockets. He didn't move. He didn't look at me or at the handful of customers who trickled in. He was there, and that was it. I shrugged it off. Weird night shift guy, I thought. Maybe a lost soul or someone looking for warmth in the bleak strip of neon. Then a regular, a trucker named Sal, came in and froze at the window. He leaned in, squinted, and then whispered, "You seeing him again tonight?" I asked, wiping down the counter. "The guy. The one who stands right there, same time, every damn night. Never goes in, never moves." Sal's voice was low but urgent, like he was afraid mentioning it out loud might make it look back. I turned to the window. The man was there. Still. Same posture. "Does he ever—" I started. Sal shook his head. "He's not on the cameras, you know that, right? I've seen you rewind the tape when I worked here before. He's never in the footage. But I swear I see him. So do the others." That was the first time I rewound the overnight footage. I scrolled frame by frame. 2:43, 2:44, 2:45. Nothing. Outside, besides the strip mall parking lot, a flickering street light, the motionless trash can, no man. I kept watching until 3. The man was not there. Yet when I looked up, eyes on the glass, he was there, right where the camera should have caught him. Every night after that, more customers mentioned him. "That guy's outside again, ain't he?" Some joked about him being a statue. Others, like Sal, said it like a warning. I started marking it. On a sticky note stuck under the register, I wrote the dates and the exact time, 2:43 to 3. I'd put the tape on, wait until he appeared at the window, pause the screen, and the playback would show nothing. Then I'd look up, and he'd be there, unchanged, as if I had blinked and reality had slid. One night, I stayed after closing. The pumps clicked off at 2:30. I sat in the back office, lights dimmed, and waited. 2:43 came. He was there. Outside, hands in pockets, looking like a shadow cut out of the night. I grabbed the walkie, because stupid decisions feel justified when you want proof, and whispered to the empty room, "Hey, you see him?" No answer. The man didn't flinch. I flipped on the exterior floodlights. He didn't glow, didn't shift, just stood. I leaned closer to the glass. He tilted his head just slightly, like someone listening to a distant sound only they could hear. The next morning, new footage appeared in my inbox. Someone upstairs had sent it. The security feed from the night before, 2:43 to 3. It showed the parking lot, the pumps, a car pulling in and out. Then the motion sensor triggered and the automatic door glided open as a woman stepped in. I scrubbed forward. No sign of the man outside. But when the woman left, the angle caught the reflection of the doorway in the glass. There, almost imperceptible, a blurry, dark outline standing outside. Not a clear form, not a person, just a smudge in the reflection like heat warping light. When I zoomed, the smudge sharpened into something that looked like a face. Eyes closed, mouth a thin line. Then it dissolved. I didn't tell anyone. Who do you even tell? that something was standing outside, visible to the naked eye, yet it didn't register in the recordings, except sometimes through reflections. The more I watched, the more the edges of the nights blurred. People started complaining about that vague sense of being watched in the store, like someone was standing right behind them, but the air stayed still. I started hearing footsteps in the break room when I was alone. I'd turn, and nothing was there. The smell of cigarette smoke would hang for a second, though smoking was banned. And always, from 2:43 to 3, the man would be outside, watching, not looking in, just standing, as if guarding something I couldn't name. Then the dream started. In the dream, I was working. The lights were too bright, the fluorescent hum was a scream, and the automatic door wouldn't open. The man was outside, just beyond the glass. I could see him in the reflection, but nothing else, nothing real. My hands moved on their own, reaching for the register. I tried to speak, but there was no sound. He stepped forward. The reflection flickered. I woke up at 2:43 a.m., heart slamming, breath ragged, the smell of cigarettes in the room. I quit 2 weeks later. I couldn't shake the sensation that he wasn't waiting outside for a customer. He was waiting for me to leave. When I came by months later to pick up my final paycheck, just to close that chapter, the place was empty. New sign, new register. I went inside quietly, not wanting to announce myself. Between 2:43 and 3, I saw him again. Outside the window, still, hands in pockets, face blurred like a reflection described only after the fact. I didn't freeze this time. I walked up, pressed my palm against the glass. The moment my skin touched cold, the outline shifted, not away, inside me, like that smudge had been a doorway. I never went back. Some nights, when it's quiet and the lights buzz low, I still hear the soft, almost imperceptible hum of the fluorescent flicker and feel the weight of his attention. I don't know if he was a ghost, a residual trace of someone who once stood guard over that shift, or something that needed a witness, something that cannot be captured fully on camera because it leans on the edges of what's real and what your mind can't explain. But here's the thing. Other people saw him too, not just me. So if you ever work a survival shift and someone's standing outside at 2:43, unmoving, and you swear you can feel them, don't ask why. Just watch the clock. Because he's not waiting for a customer. He's waiting for you to look away.
I live alone. That's what makes this story so hard to process. Because for a while, I thought I was just losing my mind. I moved into a rental house off campus last fall. Small, old, but cheap. It was a little too far from the university and way too quiet at night. The kind of quiet where you start hearing things that aren't there. At least, I thought they weren't there. It started with small stuff. A box of granola bars I swore I hadn't finished, just gone. Milk, half drunk in the fridge. My phone charger missing, then turning up a day later in my sock drawer. I told myself I was just scattered, sleep-deprived, midterms, caffeine, you name it. Then one night, I heard something under the floorboards. My bedroom has this crawl space underneath, old wooden slats, barely enough clearance for anyone to fit. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to this soft, rhythmic tapping, like knuckles on wood, faint but constant. I froze. I thought maybe it was pipes or rodents, or even just the house settling. But when I got up to check, the noise stopped. The next morning, I found muddy smudges near the wall vent, inside my room. It didn't make sense. I told my landlord. He waved it off. Old houses creak, probably raccoons. But raccoons don't move my silverware drawer 3 inches to the left. They don't reprogram my TV to play static when I get home. They definitely don't leave a faint smell of cologne behind. So I bought a cheap indoor camera, just to settle my nerves. I placed it on my bookshelf, angled toward my bed. 3 nights passed. Nothing. On the 4th, I came home late from a study session. I went to check the footage, half laughing at myself, but the video skipped. Just for a few seconds around 2:12 a.m., then again at 2:45, then again at 3:03. Weird. I thought it might have been a bad SD card. Then I noticed something else. My closet door was open. I always close it before bed. I got this sinking feeling, that kind of heavy dread that sits in your lungs. I grabbed a flashlight and went to the crawlspace entrance in the laundry room. I hadn't looked in there since moving in. The panel was half off its hinges. I knelt down, pulled it open fully, and the flashlight caught something that turned my stomach. An empty water bottle, a crumpled fast food bag, and a pile of Polaroids. The top one was a photo of me, sleeping. My heart started racing. I pulled the stack. There were at least 30. All of them were pictures of me, sleeping, eating, brushing my teeth, some taken through cracks in the wall. One was from the foot of my bed. That's when I dropped them. I called the cops. They arrived fast, and I stayed out front while they checked the house. When they came back out, one of them looked shaken. He told me there was a sleeping bag tucked way back in the far corner of the crawlspace, food wrappers, a knife, and a phone. A phone that didn't belong to me. They never found the guy. They think he was squatting under the house for weeks, maybe longer, crawling out through the floor vent in the hallway at night, watching me, slipping back down before morning. The breaks in the camera footage? He must have known it was there, killed the power briefly, or used a signal jammer. The worst part? They think he'd been doing it before I even moved in. I moved out the next day. Now, even in my new apartment, I check every closet twice. I tape over vents. I stack furniture against crawlspace doors. People always joke about free rent in someone's attic, but let me tell you, there's nothing funny about finding out your home isn't really yours, especially when someone's been watching you sleep and you never heard them breathe.
When my daughter Ellie was born, sleep became a myth. So we bought one of those smart baby monitors with audio and night vision. It synced to our phones, had two-way audio, even motion alerts. It felt like a comfort blanket made of code, until it turned into a nightmare. The first time I heard the voice, I was half asleep. It was soft, male, humming. A slow, off-key version of Rockabye Baby. At first, I thought my husband had left the TV on, but he was snoring beside me. I grabbed my phone and opened the monitor feed. Nothing but Ellie shifting quietly in her crib. I muted the app. The humming stopped. Just interference, I told myself. Over the next few nights, it came back. Only ever between 2 and 3 a.m., sometimes humming, sometimes whispering words I couldn't quite catch. It was always just low enough to sound like static until I really listened. There now. She's such a good girl. Daddy's watching. I asked my husband if he'd heard anything. He brushed it off as a glitch. We factory reset the monitor, changed the Wi-Fi password, turned on the camera's built-in encryption, but it didn't stop. In fact, the voice grew clearer. One night, I stood outside Ellie's room and listened through the door. Her white noise machine was on, no voices. I checked the monitor. The man's voice was back, this time counting. 4, 5, 6. And then Ellie giggled. That chilled me to my core. She was only 9 months old, barely spoke, but she was responding to something. I pulled the plug on the monitor that night, bought a brand new one, different brand. No Wi-Fi, just a closed signal to a handheld receiver. It was quiet for 2 nights. Then, around 2:12 a.m., the screen flickered and I saw a face. It wasn't Ellie's. It was a man, pale skin, wide eyes, grinning too big. He was inches from the lens, peering down into the crib. The image was fuzzy, green from the night vision, but unmistakable. He wasn't holding her, he wasn't moving, just watching. Then the screen went black. I ran into her room, heart pounding so hard it felt like it might crack. She was asleep, peaceful, nothing disturbed. No open windows, no signs of a break-in, just a faint smell, like cigarette smoke and something sour, like wet leaves. I checked every inch of the house. Nothing. The next day, I went to the police, showed them the footage, but by then, it was gone. The handheld unit had automatically deleted the recording overnight. I hadn't even known it could do that. They sent a patrol car by that night, just in case. I appreciated the gesture, but it didn't make me feel safer. Especially when the officer, before leaving, asked one last question. "You said you saw a man, right? Any chance your husband came in and didn't tell you?" I stared at him. My husband died in a car accident 2 months before Ellie was born. That night, the monitor picked up nothing, but at 3:23 a.m., Ellie started humming. I was frozen outside her door. It was the same tune from before, Rockabye Baby, but slower, almost whispered, and completely in tune. I didn't go in. I couldn't. For weeks, it became routine. Nothing on the monitor, no sounds, but Ellie would hum. Same time, same lullaby. Sometimes I'd find her sitting up in the crib, eyes locked on the camera, smiling. We got rid of the monitor, threw it out completely, and for a while, the house felt normal again. But Ellie still hums in her sleep, and sometimes she whispers to someone we can't see. She uses words we never taught her. One night while I tucked her in, she reached up, touched my face, and said, "He says you're not ready yet, but he is." I asked her who he was. She pointed toward the wall where the monitor used to be. Then she smiled, closed her eyes, and began to hum, the exact same way he did.
It was my 4th overnight shift. I was still getting used to the rhythm. 2 a.m. always hits the hardest, that dead stretch where nothing happens until something does. I work as a 911 dispatcher in a mid-sized city. Most calls are what you'd expect: domestic disputes, traffic accidents, the occasional overdose. You get numb to it, or you're supposed to. But there's one call I still hear when I try to sleep. It came in at 2:17 a.m. Female, mid-20s, sounded terrified. She was whispering, "Please, someone's trying to break in. I'm alone. He's at the door." Standard protocol. I asked her for the address. She gave it, an apartment complex on the east side. She was locked in her bedroom. I could hear pounding through the phone, heavy, deliberate, wood splintering. I sent units immediately. Told her to stay quiet and keep the line open. She whispered again, "I think he's inside." And then I heard her start to cry. Not sobbing, just this low, helpless sound, like her breath was catching in her throat. I kept talking, tried to keep her grounded. She didn't respond, but I could still hear her breathing. Then, footsteps, getting louder. She screamed, and then the line cut. Police arrived 5 minutes later. Door kicked in, bedroom empty. No sign of a struggle, no blood, no body. Nothing. Just the woman's phone lying face down on the floor beside her bed. Still warm. They canvassed the building. No witnesses, no cameras. No one had seen or heard a thing. The woman was never identified. Her phone wasn't linked to any carrier. No SIM, no ID on file. The number wasn't even traceable. They pulled the call log from our system. The number that dialed 911, it didn't exist. We chalked it up to a tech glitch, maybe a spoofed number, a prank maybe. Still, it rattled me. The fear in her voice wasn't faked. I've heard real terror, and that was it. I tried to let it go. 4 nights later, 2:17 a.m. on the dot, my phone rang. Not the dispatch line, my personal cell. Blocked number. I answered. Nothing. Just silence. I hung up, brushed it off. Then I checked the call log. The number was the same one that had dialed 911 4 nights earlier. The next night at work, I brought it up to my supervisor. He told me not to worry, maybe it was a coincidence. I could take a few nights off if I needed to. I didn't. Instead, I dug. I had one of the tech guys pull the audio recording from that night. I wanted to listen again. Maybe I missed something. I wish I hadn't. Near the end of the call, right before the scream, there's this voice in the background. Low, raspy, almost a growl. It's not her. It's too deep. We slowed it down, cleaned up the noise. The voice says, "I've been here the whole time." The apartment she called from was real, still vacant, still sealed by the police. I drove out there one night. I don't even know why. Curiosity, maybe? Guilt. The complex was run down, mostly empty. The door to her unit was still boarded up. I stood outside for a minute. That's what I heard it. 3 sharp knocks from the other side. I didn't wait to find out anything else. I left. Fast. A week later, the call came in again. 2:17 a.m. Same number. This time the line was silent for a full minute before disconnecting. We never traced it. Every time we tried, the system glitched out. They archived the case as unresolved. The official report called it a hoax or a system malfunction. I know better. Sometimes I think that woman never existed. Other times, I think she still does. But here's what keeps me up. Every year, on the same night, February 17th, we get another call. Same time, same number. And every time we answer, and no one speaks.
I was broke, ran overdue, car down to fumes, and I had maybe $12 in my checking account. So when I saw the Craigslist post, it felt like a lifeline. Farmhand needed, room and board, plus $300 a week. Rural property, light work, must be trustworthy. It sounded perfect. Manual labor, free housing, and far away from the stress of my crumbling life. I messaged the poster immediately. He responded within the hour. The guy, his name was Jack, asked a few questions, mostly about my ability to do physical work and if I had any experience around tools or animals. I lied, said I did. He didn't seem to care much. He said he liked that I was eager. That word stuck with me. He gave me directions to a small town in rural Ohio called Pine Hollow. Never heard of it. Just woods, dirt roads, and grain silos as far as the eye could see. He said he'd meet me at the local diner and drive me to the property from there. I should have seen it coming. The next part comes from police reports and what my brother told the news, because I never came home. I texted my brother my location at 6:04 p.m. Then, nothing. Calls went to voicemail, texts unread.
The signal showed my phone in Pine Hollow for 3 more days. Then it vanished entirely. By day 4, my family filed a missing persons report. It was a local farmer who found the first grave, a shallow mound behind his barn with disturbed soil and the corner of a boot poking out. He thought it was just a buried animal, but it wasn't. The police found 3 more like it, unmarked, all dug with precision, like someone had done it before. They discovered IDs, wallets, half-burnt clothes. Most of the men had similar stories, down on their luck, responding to the same Craigslist job post. It was a trap, and I was the latest one to fall into it. You'd think the scariest part was the graves. It wasn't. It was that my phone kept pinging. Even after they found my backpack buried a mile from the first site, even after they confirmed my boots were still on the body they were digging up, my phone kept turning on. In town. At the gas station. At the diner I was supposed to meet Jack at. Outside the motel 2 nights in a row. The cops tracked it, but every time they got close, it stopped broadcasting, like someone was watching the watchers. They arrested a man a week later. He went by Jack online, but his real name was Daryl Avery. Mid-50s, no criminal record. Lived alone in a rusted trailer near the tree line. Inside, they found 6 phones, all from different missing men, mine included. The text threads were still open. He'd message as Jack, then delete and repost the ad. That wasn't the worst of it. On a wall in his trailer, they found Polaroids. Dozens. Most were of sleeping men, taken from odd angles, through windows, under bed frames. Some were dated before those men ever answered the job post, like he'd been watching them long before. One photo showed me, lying on the motel bed, eyes closed, unaware. They believe he followed people weeks before ever messaging them, picked his targets carefully, people who wouldn't be missed right away. People like me. I was officially declared dead 3 months later. The DNA matched, the phone activity stopped, and the man they arrested confessed to some of the killings, but not mine. He claimed he never met me, said he never touched me, that I wasn't one of them. When they pressed him, he laughed. That one never left the woods. The case is closed. But if you go to Pine Hollow, you'll hear stories that sometimes a man's voice calls out from the tree line at night, that people lose cell signal on certain roads, and when they get it back, they have messages they never wrote. And once, just once, a deputy swore his phone rang at 3 a.m. Caller ID said it was me. But when he answered, all he heard was, "Is Jack still hiring?"
If you made it through all 5, you're braver than most. But remember, these weren't just stories. They happened to real people. Stay safe, trust your instincts, and double-check your locks tonight. More real horror is just 1 click away.